Alrighty, folks, we're going to have a conversation about how Wall Street effed up. In the last 7 days or so, Wall Street had a wonderful trading pattern going. Then they opened their big mouth and they screwed themselves. They screwed all of us. Folks, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there was a very successful trade going on that was dubbed the taco trade. We'll talk about what that stands for. But at the end of the day, there was always rule number one, like Fight Club. You don't talk about the taco trade. And you certainly don't tell Trump about the taco trade, because now you all effed up and it's over. Taylor, what do you think about all this? Tell us what the taco trade is, and we'll go from there.
I love it. I love it. It's so funny that it is such like a derogatory thing to him that now he's like, oh, I'm going to eviscerate all of you now. So taco, Trump always chickens out, which is such a 90s term, chickening out. And I love it. But no, it's right. I mean, at the end of the day, he could, support this and say, this is the art of the deal. You start way out here and then you back it down, and you say, I'm going to do these big bombastic, tariffs and we're going to negotiate, et cetera. And then he just winds up backing out of the deal. And a lot of that is a function of, at least what the market's saying, is the market starts to act nasty. He takes notice and he's like, all right, just kidding.
Yeah, it is really weird. I mean, the taco trade, when you think about it, obviously a derogatory term, and we'll get into that later, but it was working, right? If you went in and bought after Trump issued, these tariffs, reciprocal tariffs, which were nothing but trade imbalances. So that's wacky. Then you go and after 145 becomes 245 on China and you have an embargo, basically you buy the dip and then he relents, which he's going to just call negotiation. Fine. Right. I don't care.
Right.
But it was such a profitable trade. But then you open your big mouth and you tell him about the taco trade. And, I've obviously never met him, but I've seen lots of content, and I'm just going to guess that he's not going to look at the taco trade as a good thing. He's going to see that as a little bit of an insult, don't you think?
Totally. And what's funny is this taco trade is, you've deemed it Wall Street, and that's fine. I'll actually just call this is just what retail trading is doing. So you can actually see institutional money versus retail money. Institutional money is actually pouring out of the market as retail goes running directly at the fire. And you look at the last 4 years or whatever, and you look at it and say, buying the dip has been nothing short of an absolutely astounding, investment philosophy. And I guess that's what happens in the back end of a 15-year bull market, is people just become numb to the fact the market goes down, buy it, it's going to come right back.
Yeah, it's really funny. I think what's going on now that you brought that up, I hadn't thought about this before, but I remember the housing market in 05, 06. Every conversation I had was basically housing only goes up, right? Like it was a law of nature.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, that's not good. Now we have it's funny you mentioned that. I termed this Wall Street, but perhaps you're right. Maybe it's retail that was doing the taco trade, and they were just buying every dip and being rewarded within 48 hours. Didn't Trump on True Social say great time to buy or something after the tariffs? And
that was the day of the renegotiation of the tariffs, or the pushing out of the tariffs that morning. Definitely.
That first night. Yeah, that's right. Wasn't that like a 10% day or 9% day?
It was one of the biggest days of all time in the market. It was 10%. I think the NASDAQ was up 12% that day. It was like, boom, get involved.
Yeah. So, but now that some reporter has taken Wall Street slang, or again, maybe Main Street slang, and told Trump about it, I have to tell you, I think it's game over, and the trade's not going to work anymore. His ego or his essence can't have the taco trade work.
Definitely not. And so it started from what Trump would refer to as fake news. I believe the first report on it was the Financial Times, and then it was Washington Post, and then it was the New York Times, and went bang, bang, bang. But then the wildfire just caught. And now everybody and their brother knows who the taco trade, or what the taco trade is. And to be honest, like, again, we can call it the taco trade, and that's totally fair. And it's well put, because it's so catchy and so relatable. But it's just nothing short of a buy the dip mentality. That's what it is.
No, there's no doubt. And again, I'm always looking for when when things change. And again, I think the taco trade is over. For example, Friday, after markets closed, after futures closed, he came out and banged the market with 50%. He's doubling the steel tariffs.
Yep.
I thought that was quite possibly one of the first reactions to his, I'll F your taco trade.
Yeah. And he said, listen, both sides have now said, China and the US, both sides aren't holding up to their end of the deal. And so China said your chip restrictions are going against the deal that we set forth. And then we have said back to them that your raw materials, like we're not accessing like we had hoped that we would be able to. And so both sides are now pointing fingers and saying, you're not doing what we talked about. You're not doing what we talked about. And it'll be interesting because now Besson is begging Trump and saying we need to go back and renegotiate with them and sit down and actually iron these things out, because what's going on right now, no one seems to be upholding their side of the bargain. So who the heck knows where it goes? I just got an update prior to coming on here 5 minutes ago that said Trump will meet with Xi at some point this week in all likelihood.
Nice. Now, when you say meet, do you happen to know if that might be in person, or do you think this is just a phone call?
I don't know. And I don't even know. That came from CNBC, which is typically pretty credible, but who knows when they say probably will meet, what the heck that means.
Yeah, it's funny. We're going to talk about uncertainty in video number 2, but let's close out on the taco trade. Are you of the mind that now that this is out in the wild, the trade's not going to work anymore in something else? Because again, sometimes in Wall Street or in trading, it works until everybody does, and then it doesn't work anymore. Do you think this taco trade is over?
Yeah, so it's like buy the rumor, sell the news, right? So the rumor was, taco trade. Now that the news is out, it might not be as indicative of a successful strategy. Yeah, I think it's over, but I think it's over in the fashion that we're back at valuations now where it just doesn't support continuing to buy. So that's really my kind of theory on why this trade is likely over. Valuations are now back to right where they were prior to any tariff storm presenting itself.
Yeah, we've definitely raced back again, kind of running into the fire, retail doing that. How have earnings, just wrapping up this topic, how have earnings been this season? I think retail and consumer based generally soft, but tech generally good, banks generally good. Am I kind of summarizing it okay?
Yeah, I think broadly speaking, if you were to say, hey, Taylor, put a score on this, I think it's been a 7, which is, has been more solid than I think most folks would have anticipated. But you also have to remember that that's all Q1 stuff. Yeah. The trade tariffs really didn't get imposed until April 2nd. That was Liberation Day. And then it's just been noise. And I mean, echo chamber after echo chamber. Tariffs are on. Tariffs are delayed. Then tariffs aren't even constitutional. And then tariffs are constituted. Like, what is going on? No one knows. And the market literally does not care. Valuations are back at 21 times plus earnings.
Well, there you go, folks. We're going to talk about uncertainty in our next video because I think that is a very good and important topic. But before we do that, Taylor, where can people find you?
Yeah, find us at LifeGoal Investments. We're on Instagram and TikTok at LifeGoal Investments.
Folks, if you have not subscribed to his Instagram channel, I do not know what you're doing. He does these 60-second videos about what a very key topic of the day. And frankly, I have no idea how he does it. I don't know how he stretches time to get 5 minutes inside 60 seconds. But subscribe, check him out. You're the best, man. Take care.
You're the man.